Toby, welcome to the Maestro Online.
Robin, thank you so much for having me. I'm really pleased to be part of this.
It's an honour to have you. So, how did sort of piano begin with you, or your love of music?
Really came from my dad. My dad was quite a gifted pianist. He used to play Boogie Woogie, which introduced me to Boogie. And so we always had a piano in the house, and I sort of grew up around music. Around 12, 13 onwards, I did my grades. And then, just found... I was pretty average at sports, but I seemed to have a bit of an aptitude to music, so I kept it up.
Great. So how did you get from your classical grade training to your love of boogie woogie and other styles?
Well, again, it started with my father. He introduced me to boogie. He used to play Winifred Atwell's Five-Finger Boogie and Swanee River Boogie, some of the real classics, and it really was his passion for boogie that he sort of instilled into me. I then met this guy called Big Joe Duskin when I was about 15, 16. He was one of the last great boogie pianists from America. He was over touring, and I went to see him at a local art centre in Aldershot, the West End Centre, and at the end of the evening I played a boogie with him on the piano. And he very kindly gave up his time and spent the weekend with the family home and taught me Pinetop's boogie, which is one of the boogies we'll learn on the course, the more advanced boogie we'll learn on the course. So that was just an unbelievable thing, and that kind of further distilled my love of boogie and my passion, and I've had it ever since, really.
So how did you go from, obviously you were extremely inspired at this moment, and it obviously led to probably your musical career. How did you go from loving what you were doing to making it your career?
It was actually a bit of luck. I think most musicians will tell you that, you obviously have to have a certain level of ability, but you can be the best player in the world, and if no one knows who you are, you'll remain unknown. And so there is always an element of luck. And there was a Melody Maker ad, which was a music paper we used to have, wanting a drummer and a keyboard player for a signed band. And my mate was a drummer, and he basically asked if I'd go up for the audition. And that led to me being in a band called Rialto, which was in the mid to late 90s. They were signed to a major record label, and we had a lot of success. We're bandied as part of the Britpop era, although at the time I don't think we really felt like that, but yeah, we had top 20 album, 3 hits, and it started from there, really.
Fantastic.
So it was a lucky opportunity.
So, looking back now over your career, what highlights do you think you'll remember forever?
Crikey. From going back to the Rialto days, mysterious, I don't know why, but we were massive in South Korea. We did a tour of South Korea in the late 90s, and I remember we arrived at Seoul and we went to this the International Hotel, and there was a press conference with national TV, and we all had a microphone with our names, and it was like, that was my experience of being what it's like to be in a big band. We didn't really get that in other territories, but in South Korea, for a few weeks, I felt like a proper pop star, and it was that. I'll never forget that experience. That was incredible. I remember playing my first festival. So many things. I played Top of the Pops. I remember playing Top of the Pops when that was a thing. I mean, a lot of people probably don't remember what Top of the Pops is, but that was, at the time, for aspiring musicians, that was a big deal. So yeah, a few things stood out. So, having had this fantastic range of career, and of course you've moved on to play for the Stranglers as well, yet again, looking back, what advice would you give to somebody else in order to be able to play in a way that engages with other band members, or practice techniques, or being able to engage with an audience? Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think one thing I've always been lucky and I think naturally gifted with was improvisation. I generally, in fact, like I was saying to you earlier, I don't really read anymore, and although I did my grades, I play by ear, and it's very spontaneous playing that way, and I think that's given me an adaptability to playing different styles, the confidence to improvise and to play by ear and decipher music by ear. So I would say I would encourage people to learn to improvise, because that then instills an element of you, individuality into your music, rather than learning things parrot fashion. I know this is a passion of yours, Robin, with your courses, that you like people to, rather than learn songs parrot fashion, you like to instill the confidence of people to develop their own style and their own interpretations. And so I would say, trying to learn to improvise, play by ear. I mean, you don't necessarily have to play by ear, but learning to improvise and go off piste a bit, discover you, rather than just regurgitating music from other people. So, and just going back to the boogie, that's such a good way of developing some of these skills, because it develops your muscles. It's a very fast, energetic form of music, so it's enabled me to play quite quickly, which helps with the Stranglers, because some of those parts are really fast, and it gives you the sort of confidence with the building blocks to improvise and just to give it a go and not feel intimidated. Jazz can be a bit intimidating because it's structurally a lot more complex, whereas boogie, blues, things like that can give you some useful tools that are reasonably easy to pick up.
So Toby, tell me, what do you think in terms of musicianship is the difference between a pop pianist and a boogie woogie? Obviously, in terms of the physical sense, it's very technical for the boogie woogie, but then there are some technical moments in the Stranglers. But how does a pop pianist play differently?
That's a really interesting question. I think I would say versatility and adaptability. I mean, I've got quite an eclectic taste in music, so I listen to reggae, synth music, through to heavy rock, through to just about every genre. And I think being adaptable, boogie is, whilst there's a lot of transferable skills you can take from boogie, and it's great from keeping your muscles in good check and you're dexterous and your speed, it's a fairly standard sort of structure, which I actually quite like about it. It's a lot more approachable than, say, jazz, which is a lot more complex. But just going back to more contemporary music with pop and rock and stuff, just listening to lots of different types of music, assimilating different styles, just being adaptable, really, and again improvising and just having the confidence to develop you and just your own style, and assimilating, listening, absorbing, just have a go,
And final question for you, Toby. Obviously, you've developed amazingly as a keyboard player, and you've had a fantastic career. If you could go somewhere in the future with your playing, what would you develop?
I tried to get into modular, and I wish I was a little bit more. I wish I was better at programming synthesizers, because I really love. I think recently analog synths have become a lot more accessible, and synths have become a lot cheaper and more affordable. And I've dabbled in getting some modular gear, and that's the ones where you've got the leads and the beeps and the buttons. So I'd like to get a little bit more confident in programming and maybe some of my sound production skills, because I love exploring sounds and soundscapes, and going into, I don't know, stuff like Brian Eno through to lots of synthscape stuff. So that's an area that interests me, actually getting a little bit more proficient with my sound design and my programming skills. I think that appeals.
And if you had one pearl of wisdom to pass on to other people, what would that be?
Be humble. I remember the manager of Rialto said that to me. You're lucky to have success. A lot of people don't get to have it, but never let it go to your head. Never be a big head. just be humble, because people will like you, and it's a people sort of business as well. You could be the best player in the world, but if you don't get on, and you're not, if you're on tour, you're in a bubble with the other musicians, and it could be quite an intense thing. So I think be humble. Don't let it get to your head.
Thank you, Toby. I shall spend the rest of my life being more humble than I currently am.
It's easier to practice not practice what you preach, but yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah,
it's been an honour. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.